Welcome to the Aus Asia Business Program with your host, Stacey Martin. Stacey brings together experts, ideas and information on how to navigate business opportunities in Asia.
Dajahal, welcome to the Aus Asia Business Program. I'm Stacey Martin, and in the studio today we have Gillian Bullock, who is a LinkedIn ninja. Welcome to the show, Gillian.
Thank you for having me.
So, Gillian, you've worked in marketing for almost 20 years. Tell us a little bit about why marketing and your career journey.
Okay, sure. 20 years, that makes me sound so old.
I try not to say 30 myself.
Yes, okay. So I guess my first introduction to marketing was probably my mum's company. So I was a bit like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, except it was my mum. So she had a fudge business.
Wow.
Yeah, so I got to work part-time with fudge and chocolate all around me all the time.
You're probably one of those people where you cost more to have than...
Yes, probably. And I think it also spoilt me because my favourite fudge is when it's like hot and it's just off the batch. Anyway, I digress. So that was my sort of first experience. And back in the day, which I won't give away my age, but this is before, just as they were bringing barcodes in.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
And my mum didn't have any. And so I actually designed the packaging for her at about 15 to have a barcode. And that allowed her to be in things like Big W, and I think it was like Coles at the time or something like that.
So you've started that concept of marketing before you even knew it was called marketing.
I had no idea what it was called. I had no idea. It was only in one of my very first jobs in the proper big world full-time jobs that I went, hang on, there's a marketing department.
Wow.
What is this? Because I started as a receptionist and then they started churning me out some work to do, and I hated the financial controller's work and loved the marketing department's work. And I was like, ooh, this is good.
And so you've obviously seen it evolve over that time. What have been some highlights?
Oh, I think when I learned marketing, it was a lot more to do with print. As well. So I actually learnt direct marketing and print marketing. That's how I learnt in my diploma in the 90s. And that's probably why I like LinkedIn the most out of all of the social media, because it's pretty direct.
Yeah. And print marketing, you know, there's so many different channels now, and often I go to hand out a flyer and someone says, oh, can you email it to me? Or, you know, or you want to hand a business card, and then they say, don't you know about the LinkedIn QR codes now?
Yeah, exactly. Everything's changed. Technology has changed it all, but the way in which we buy fundamentally hasn't, because humans don't evolve that quickly.
Yeah. So you've now found that social media, it's not just about being social, it's a really powerful business tool.
Oh, for sure.
So how did you develop your interest in this? And what did you see really as the opportunity back then? Because you were a very early adopter of LinkedIn, weren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think I've been on the platform about 9 years. And when you look at it, it's kind of, well, LinkedIn's 15 years old. So early, maybe, but I think Australians didn't really know mainstream LinkedIn for the first 2 or 3 years anyway.
Yeah, and I remember at work, you know, people, my managers saying to me, you know, your personal brand's important, but we just see you on LinkedIn all day. You know, what's that about? And I realised...
time waster.
I know. I realised a lot of my colleagues had only a very brief profile connected with other colleagues. And because I was liking so many posts, probably saw my, you know, cobalt blue jacket pop up all the time. Didn't really want to go explaining Hootsuite as to why I was putting out all this stuff in the middle of the day.
Yep.
But, you know, now corporates are really embracing LinkedIn as a really strong sales tool.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if it's a bit of FOMO. You know?
Fear of missing out.
Yes.
There's a new one now, JOMO. Joy of missing out. That's when you have too many things on and you cancel
That would
something.
be me with Snapchat. Joy of missing out. Yes, I'm happy to miss that one.
But you're now involved in training some of these corporates to get the right profile and the right activities going, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. That's a big chunk of what I do. Yeah.
But this LinkedIn Ninja, going back, tell me about how, when you discovered LinkedIn, you kind of decided that you wanted to learn everything there is to know, both what other people knew and what they didn't, what's behind the scenes. Tell us about that.
Well, when I first decided in 2002 that I knew more than everybody else at my workplace decided to go out and consult, as most people do, I think. They go, I can do it better than my boss. I'm going to go out and do it. Yes, a rude shock sometimes. But sort of that evolved as marketing consultancy and then evolved into social media. So I used to do the top 4. So your Google+, LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook. And I did that for a number of years and ended up with a team of 14.
Okay.
And we used to manage accounts. And the only accounts that I wanted to manage were LinkedIn. The others didn't really do it for me
social media
personally.
Platforms, yeah.
No, they just didn't really do it for me personally.
Yeah.
But I was happy to do LinkedIn. And one of my copywriters was actually in America. The team was 12 in Australia and 2 overseas. And my copywriter was American, and she knew the original LinkedIn Ninja.
Wow.
Because there's 11 of us.
Okay.
So, and she approached me and she said, look, can you sort of prove that you're giving an ROI for people when you're managing their accounts? And I went, yeah, easy, sure. Apparently that's not that easy, which I found out, over years, yes, there's a lot of people ripping a lot of people off on LinkedIn, managing and so forth. So I was approached to do the program. They said it'd be about 12 months. Okay. And in my arrogance, I went, yeah, sure. And about 11 and a half months later, I completed it. So that's the LinkedIn Ninja Black Belt certification.
Wow, you're a black belt in
I'm
LinkedIn.
a black belt.
That's amazing. And are there any others in Australia?
No, I'm the only one in the Southern Hemisphere. So,
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, LinkedIn, it's interesting because they're actually now starting to use it in Asia. When I was in Shenzhen recently, everything's pretty well blocked, but my LinkedIn was still working.
Yeah, your LinkedIn, I think it's one of the only social media platforms that they allow. But I do believe LinkedIn head office had to sort of, put an argument forward as to why that they should let LinkedIn there. It wasn't just accepted first off.
And you can actually have profiles in Chinese now as well.
Yes, I know.
Really exciting.
Yeah, there is like a auto-translate thing which you can do. And mine says German or Mandarin. I just wanted to say though, but I love the fact that the translation feature, which is a Microsoft product, is finally coming through.
Oh, cool.
So I'm there's been a lot of posts. I don't have that many people from China that I'm connected with because I can't read it.
Right.
But you've got the auto translate now, which does 60 languages.
Fantastic. And I think, as we work together with delegates going on the mission to Hong Kong and China next year, having a really good LinkedIn profile is one aspect, but also that it is translatable because often the messages are slightly different. So that's going to be really exciting. And speaking of profiles, we've got SMEs listening to us today, and sometimes people just put their kind of job description, right? Or they think it's a CV. What are some of the key things, in terms of headlines and summary?
Okay, so unless they're looking for a job, so obviously it needs to be an online sort of CV if they're looking for work. But 64% of LinkedIn's revenue comes from recruitment. So that's why the template is the way it is. I completely understand it. But once you're actually in employment or you're self-employed, then the profile needs to be a sales document.
Right.
And that's where I think a lot of people fall down.
Okay.
It needs to sell you. Your content and your interaction and your engagement is to actually bring people towards you and have you top of mind.
So like personal brand.
Yeah, but the profile should start converting. So it needs to be a sales document, and nobody cares what you did 30 years ago.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? And especially, today often, if someone's made redundant from a long-term career and they haven't thought about reinventing themselves for the new economy, they really need to think about who am I now and what can I offer going forward.
Yeah, but it needs to be looked at for people they're companies that are downsizing or making redundancies, because what you've been putting on your LinkedIn profile over the last 2, 3, 5, 10 years as in terms of content and how much value you're bringing to the company, then that is quite often what secures your position during downsizing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the importance of having a good LinkedIn profile, a photo.
And having it switched on, because remember there's 4 settings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, there's lots of behind the scenes that you need to know.
So just so the photo's visible on your profile doesn't actually mean it's visible to everybody else.
Oh my goodness. So this is when you're exchanging, and connecting with people. That's pretty important to get them not only to know what you do, but why you do it, what your passion is. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So we've been listening to Gillian Bullock, who is a LinkedIn Ninja. And after the break, we'll hear a little bit about the power of hashtags and how you've been involved in creating a global movement.
Aus Asia is taking a short break. If you'd like to sponsor this show or be part of Eagle Waves Radio, go to our website, eaglewavesradio.com.au, and contact us. Hey Tess, don't you employ overseas staff and you've been thinking about expanding your business offshore?
Yeah, I have been.
And you have investors that are also considering moving to Australia.
I do.
So a registered migration agent could probably help you with the right visa solution.
But how do you find the right one?
Industry body Migration Alliance has over 4,800 registered agents.
What's the best way to contact them?
Email help@migrationalliance.com.au and you'll find a MARA registered agent right near you.
Cool.
And now, back to you, Stacey.
Welcome back. I'm Stacey Martin. This is the Aus Asia Business Program, and I'm in the studio with Gillian Bullock, who is a LinkedIn ninja.
I'd say something really smart in Japanese if I knew anything.
So, Gillian, tell us about your example with the power of hashtags and how that started a global movement.
Sure. Okay. So LinkedIn Local is a hashtag,
Right.
and that started in Coffs Harbour and went to London, Toronto, Belgium, and New York.
So what happened in Coffs Harbour?
Well, there was a lady called Anna McAfee.
Yes.
One of them, she'll hate me. And she wanted to get together with people in the local area, which was about 60,000 people, but there's only about 250 on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay.
So she said, why don't we sort of get together and spread the
Like
word?
in person, yeah.
Yeah, get together in person and sort of spread the word of the power of LinkedIn. So there was about 19 people that turned up after her post, but it was that post that was noticed by people in those cities.
So putting a hashtag,
Yep.
LinkedIn Local, in her post.
Yes. So it was picked up just as an interesting concept, and the 4 people in those cities started their own local. So they called it LinkedIn Local, used the hashtag, and then it was the London one that I saw. So I got in touch with Anna and said, can we run them in Sydney? And they were brought together. I think there was 23 different locations on the second month.
Wow.
And so it's just progressed since then, and May this year was the 12 months mark, and there are around 500 locations that it is in 60 countries around the world, just feeding off
from the power
hashtag.
of the hashtag LinkedIn Local. And
Yes.
you're running hashtag LinkedIn Local Sydney
Yes.
with Jane Jackson.
Yes, I am. So each city has got, a main driver in that city, and they just add whatever the city name is on the end of it.
Okay.
And then, they usually double up with LinkedIn Local as well, because that taps into the global phenomenon it is.
It's amazing.
And then by having LinkedIn Local Sydney as well, that brands every time we post about the event.
And you're obviously, being a trainer in LinkedIn, you're more focused on the corporate side, and Jane, your co-convener, she's focused on the employment,
Yeah.
CV, that sort of stuff.
That's right. But what happened that was really cool at the last LinkedIn Local that we had was that we actually did a hashtag blast, which basically means that you do a post, most people are doing selfies or videos or something, and then I did a countdown at the front, and we counted down to actually post all exactly at the same time. Now, there was only about 42 people
Yes.
at this event.
Very exclusive events, aren't they? Quite small,
Yeah.
so you can get to know each
Get
other.
to know each other, exactly. So, but they did it all at the same time, and it was actually enough for the following day that I noticed LinkedIn Local Sydney is an official topic now on LinkedIn.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well,
so it didn't take
congratulations.
much. So I was very surprised with that.
Yeah, so as you said, LinkedIn is often used for recruitment. So Jane is more helping getting the profile right for that
Yep.
recruitment purpose.
Exactly, and I don't touch that. So.
And some people go, I don't want to go onto LinkedIn because I just contact recruiters. But you can turn that off, can't you?
Yeah. But also, if you use some of the most overused words and you've got things like duties and responsibilities on your profile, that's what recruiters scan for.
Oh, is
so
that
take
right?
all that off,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you don't get recruiters approaching you.
Yeah, and so if you're talking about the value you can provide and your capabilities and your passion and so on,
Yeah.
then that's where you're going to attract leads.
Yeah.
So speaking of leads, what are some of the ways that you can attract leads on LinkedIn?
Good content,
Okay.
valuable content, adding value to people, giving people an aha moment, identifying pain points that your typical customers come to you with, and actually how you've solved that before. Things like that.
So is that about writing not just your profile and having a really good summary and information about what you do, but is that about writing kind of articles or blogs?
Yes and no. So
Okay.
the big articles, which are now called Publisher, which were previously called Pulse,
Right.
which were also previously called Today.
Yes.
Whenever LinkedIn wants to stop reinventing the wheel for the same thing, they are not very favourable with the algorithm right now.
Okay.
So the algorithm doesn't push them. And I'm talking the difference between, like, when I write an article, sometimes I'm pushing it and promoting it for like the next hour.
Yep.
And I might get 500 eyeballs on it.
Right.
Versus I do a post that's really engaging and got some tips on LinkedIn or something, and it's in
Okay.
front of 92,000 people. Like,
That's amazing.
It's chalk and cheese.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
chalk and cheese. But that post in particular that went that far was right at the beginning of the year. Like, good luck in finding it now.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas my last Pulse article is right there on the profile.
So the articles stay
Yeah.
on your profile.
Yeah.
And also people can put up like some presentations or some other things that they've done now.
Yeah, you can. There's a media section within each. Do you mean on the profile, or
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it as content?
Or either. So people can, when they look at you, they can see a kind of diverse range of, capabilities.
Yeah, so you can put video, images, PDF files, PowerPoint presentations. I know there's 5 and I'm missing one. Oh, website links. You can put them and attach them to various places on your LinkedIn profile.
So your profile will then have a lot more colour and interest and attract the reader.
Yeah, well, 65% of the population is visual. So,
Yeah.
yes.
So the
Yes.
importance of having a good quality picture or image.
Yeah, yeah. And I've always said 65% are visual and 35% are lazy. So.
But how do people who are just still grappling with technology generally get their LinkedIn profile to that kind of point?
To the point of where it's actually converting?
Yeah, yeah.
I think just spending more than 5 minutes on it. Some people spend months on content on a website and then spend 5 to 10 minutes on their LinkedIn profile.
So you think LinkedIn's more important than the website?
I had my first 3 years when I became the LinkedIn Ninja exclusively, I didn't have a new website up. And I went 3 years without a website.
Is that right? So, people can have that LinkedIn profile and that's where people go rather than a sort of static website, because this is much more dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah. And they've got so much more content on it too.
Yeah.
In my case, anyway.
And there's a tool called Sales Navigator. Is that useful?
Yes. Sales Navigator is useful in about 3 different ways. So if you are transactional sales, so if
Yep.
you need a lot of them and there's sort of a lower price point, that's great for salespeople or people in a BDM role or something like that. Somebody who's got massive amounts of connections, and that's sort of a relative term.
Yep.
I'm sort of thinking in my head sort of 20,000 plus.
Yep.
But it's very, I'm up to sort of 6,000 or 7,000 now, and it's.
But
starting.
you know most of your contacts. You've had an interaction with a lot of them.
Yeah, most of them. Yeah. Probably say 80% easily,
Yep.
maybe 90, but
Yep.
80%. Yep.
Because people say, I should only connect with someone that I know, but how is that going to generate you new business?
Well, that's in the rule book of LinkedIn,
Yeah.
which is why there's some trainers that I know that started at the same time that have about 69,000 connections. And I'm still stuck on single digits. I haven't got up to the double digits yet of 10,000. So I stuck to it like glue myself, but it does limit you. But it was also, that's how I was approved as one of the top 12 independent experts with LinkedIn's head office in San Francisco, because I did stick to that rule.
Yeah.
So-
But they are changing, as you say, the rules or developing the product all the time.
Yeah, look, they are. And yeah, sometimes too often, but it's one of those things where you need to keep up to date with it. And when I look back, I don't know how I did all the 4 platforms.
Yep.
Because just keeping up with the latest updates. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, LinkedIn did 7 different new features in 1 week.
Wow.
I mean, how do you keep up with that when you're doing 4 different platforms?
Yeah,
I have no
it's
idea.
impossible. Now, you recently won the Social Media Marketing Awards for LinkedIn, and I understand you had a pretty innovative campaign. Tell us about what you did there.
Well, that was the LinkedIn Local Sydney campaign.
Okay.
So that's the campaign I put forward, and I guess that was there was a couple of sides to that. There was one that we've filled those events every month.
Yep.
Probably 2 to 3 weeks out in advance.
Wow.
And pretty much, I mean, yes, we have a Facebook page, yes, we have a Twitter account, but that's only to really have the name.
Yep.
And Jane Jackson and I actually market it via LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn Local, it's really about connecting with the people behind the profile, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a sales pitch at all. You know, if somebody wants to sell, they can look you up on LinkedIn. They know what you do from that.
Yeah.
But it's what's going on in the background.
And it's about the people-to-people relationships, taking
Absolutely.
those online profiles offline and meeting like IRL in the real world.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that analogy.
So what are your top 3 tips for SMEs who are looking at LinkedIn, not just as local tool, but global as well? Tell us about what your tips are for people looking to, engage more with through LinkedIn.
Yeah, well, I guess we just touched on it, which is actually, engaging with people on the platform rather than doing blasts of content all the time.
And that's when you do an invitation, you should actually make a comment, right?
Yeah, but it's also just keeping in touch with the people that are important to you, which is a little bit where Sales Navigator comes in as well.
Okay.
Because the Sales Navigator home feed is only who you've identified as your VIPs.
Yes.
So if you had 6,000 connections, 20,000 connections, and you say, look, I'm only going to really engage with this top 150 because they're my regulars or they're my VIPs or they're the ones I'm going to try and get my proposal across to, Sales Navigator helps with that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think really that when people are getting stuff blasted out on LinkedIn all the time and it's even being fed from Hootsuite or Buffer or whatever, and they're not even logging in, the platform is clued into that now and the algorithm is biased in a bad way towards that kind of content, and it just gets nowhere.
Okay.
Absolutely nowhere. Another one, so you want nationally and internationally, that would definitely be if you are trying to, let's just say you've identified a key market in Hong Kong, so for instance, to actually, if you've got Sales Navigator, you can add them as a lead. If you don't, literally write them down.
Yep.
And then when you log into LinkedIn, you look for those people and you start engaging with their content, because nobody wants to be sold to or proposed to on the first date. Yeah, you got to go out with them for a while and see what interests them and what they're into and what flowers do they like. I'm using an analogy here.
I've certainly found when I travel internationally, at least looking up who I already know in Hong Kong.
Yep.
And then telling them what I'm looking for, catching up with them and saying, is there anyone else you suggest I should meet?
Yes.
And then they can connect you on LinkedIn.
Yes. And my third tip is actually, lone wolves do not work on LinkedIn. Some people say to me, I look at their profile and I go, oh my God, you're putting out like 5 posts a day.
Yeah.
What are you doing? And their activity feed is identical to their posts.
Right.
Which basically tells me that you're not engaging with anybody except yourself.
And I think engaging with content that is your business connections, but also your prospects makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you've been listening to the Aus Asia Business Program with Gillian Bullock. And so, Gillian, how does one get in contact with you?
Right. Well, probably the easiest way, funnily enough, is via LinkedIn.
Oh, my God.
Who
would have thought? So Gillian Bullock, BULLOCK.
Yep, just like Sandra.
Just like Sandra. And you've got lots and lots of content on there.
Yes.
And also, obviously, you've got a website and things like that, which talks more about the training and the services that you offer.
Yeah, it does, but there's more on LinkedIn.
Well, Shasha Gillian and Zaijian to our listeners.
Thank you for listening to the Aus Asia Business Program with our host, Stacey Martin, our Asian business specialist and expat financial advisor. Powered by Eagle Waves Radio and broadcasting proudly from Vivo Cafe, Sydney.